Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about this time? Well, Don't Nod, the French game studio, best known for the first two Life is Strange games, is temporarily pausing work on two in-development projects and refocusing the design of two others after sales of Gisant and Banisher's Ghost of Eden, or Ghost of New Eden, fell well short of expectations. Wow, I only heard that one before. They say we were obviously disappointed by our recent performance in an extremely competitive and selective market. The Don't Nod CEO said in a statement on the studio's 2024 first half financial results. Despite an excellent critical reception, Gisant and Banishers unfortunately did not achieve the commercial results we had hoped for, resulting in a deterioration of our 2024 half-year results and leading us to consider all possible options regarding our roadmap. Gisant, which I never heard of Gisant. I don't know if you heard of that one. Did you hear that one?
That was that like climbing simulator one, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think we saw it at like one of the game.
Was that the
awards
one
or
where you're
something like that.
climbing the mountain and it's kind of like cartoony graphics and you're climbing the side of the mountain? Okay.
Yeah.
So PC Gamer called that a 2023 standout, gave it an 89% review, which is pretty good. Built around joyful rock climbing and fascinating storytelling. And that's the position I can endorse. Banishers earned a 74% on its own review of the game, rich in atmosphere, history, and horrible deeds. So, Don't Nod, they've made other games, older games, Vampire, of course, the Life is Strange games. The net result is, so Banishers and Gisant performed well below expectations. The net result is a 24 million or 26.7 million write down, essentially a loss in value on the two games, given the inability to demonstrate future cash flows, commiserate with the value of these assets, and changes to Don't Nod's future plans. Two unannounced games in development, slated to be out before the end of 2027, have been refocused to reach a wider audience, which involves scrapping certain developments, while two others have been temporarily paused. They say this decision will enable us to prioritize resources and maximize the chances of success of these titles with the greatest potential at present. Don't Nod is also exploring other options that could be implemented as soon as possible to secure its operations and enhance value creation. The purpose of this review is to give Don't Nod the ability to compete more successfully in a consistently evolving industry and to respond effectively to the expectation of players and partners while continuing to offer innovative, high-quality experiences. That's what they say. So, that's good in the sense, Banishers was something I really wanted to play. I never got around to playing it just because there was so many other games at the time, and I still haven't played it. And Banishers looked really cool. Gisant I never played either, but it sounds interesting. The thing about Don't Nod is a lot of they have really good storytelling with their games, right? Life is Strange is still one of my favorite storytelling games. I love that game a lot. And they're coming out with the third Life is Strange, which brings back or the fourth one, I don't know which one is, which brings back the original Max, whatever her name was, last name Crawfield or Crawlerfield, I can't remember her last name, but anyway, from the first game, she comes back into this one. But the first Life is Strange I absolutely loved. I loved that game a lot. And we played, we reviewed what is it, Don't Tell Me Why, or Tell Me Why, or something like that. Tell Me Why. Yeah. And that game was really good. Had a really good story. And so, the thing about Don't Nod's games is they usually have a really good story. They're really good storytellers, and most of their games are pretty unique in the sense, right? They're not stuff that we typically get a lot. So I can understand, because they don't have a lot of mass appeal, because, mass appeal is shooting guns and killing things and, whatever. Whereas these games are more like storytelling and character development and almost kind of like sitcom or soap opera or like reading a book type of thing more than it is this action packed whatever, right? I mean, there's action packed moments. Life is Strange originally they had moments where it was action packed, right? And some of their other games also had that too, where the various things happened, and so they have that type of stuff in the game. It just again, these games usually appeal. I feel like they appeal to a smaller segment of gamers, or certain people who like these types of games and stuff like that. So, but I understand where they're coming from, right? They make these unique experiences, but they also have to make a profit, right? They are a company, they have to make a profit, so they have to kind of adjust or realign things to be more of a broader appeal, to appeal to a wider audience, right? And I think that's where Don't Nod hasn't really gotten into, is that wider audience. I think they have their group of gamers who like most of the stuff that they bring out, or maybe all the stuff, or most of the stuff. I feel like and maybe all of us are kind of, but I'll speak for myself when I say I am a fan of Don't Nod. Like, I like a lot of their stuff. It is unique. It is different. I don't get around to playing everything that they put out there, but when I do get around to finally playing something that they've made, I usually enjoy it, right? I usually really like it and find the story to be really good and everything like that. It's just, there's so many games, it's hard to find a time to pick up something that they've created, because I know I have a lot of, not that they're super long games, but you really like their games are, like I said, the storytelling is so heavy that's like you gotta be in that mode to be like really invested in what's going on, because you've got to pay attention, right, to what's going on with the characters and things like that. But they're really good at storytelling. But again, you got to pay attention, right? You can't just walk into the middle of a show or something like that and know what's going on, right? You got to pay attention to what's going on and who the characters are and things like that, to follow things. And that's kind of how their games are. You really got to follow the characters and the storytelling and stuff. So, but it sucks. I mean, it sucks in the fact that they have to do that, right? But it is kind of the industry and how it is, right? I mean, that's why those unique games don't get a lot of play, right? Even though for like Jasant, for example, I mean, that seemed to be critically successful as far as like critics were concerned, right? As far as reviews and stuff go, Banishers didn't get horrible reviews. It didn't get great reviews, but it wasn't horrible. It was, in the upper 70s or low 80s for most reviewers. So all around, these games got good reviews. It's just not a lot of, I just think the priorities of gamers is, again, it's a hard market to compete with. There's a lot of big games that take away gamers' attention, and these smaller titles, or these different titles from different companies, sometimes are hard to get through the door into people's hands, because either they don't know about them, or they feel like they're not going to be interested in them. um, you know, and that might be the way that a lot of people feel about Don't Nod's games, is they're like, I'm not interested in this. But if you're one of those individuals, out there who think you're not going to be interested in it, I give you a challenge to go and play one of their like storytelling games, like Life is Strange, or Tell Me Why, or any of those that they've made. And I bet you'll probably really enjoy it and really like the story and stuff like that, right? Because they are unique, and like once you start getting into it and everything, you're like, man, this is good. So that's my 2 cents anyway. But Pat, what do you think of their announcement here to kind of refocus and reshape things?
Yeah, and I'm with you. They are great storytellers. All their games have a really immersive story. And from what I've read, I have not played Banishers, and I did not play Jasant. They're both on my wish list on Steam, because I wanted to I want to play them, and they are on there. But my thing with Don't Nod games is that they are not a primary play game, and what I mean by that is they're not like my first round pick games. I will play their games typically, and if we were reviewing them, of course, but outside of that, I'm usually am waiting for them to go on sale to put them on my back catalog. And when I get that lull, which we get a lull like 2 or 3 times a year where there's like nothing coming out, I'm usually popping one in, right? And and especially like the Life is Strange stuff, they're kind of episodic. Not kind, but they are episodic. So usually I'm waiting for the whole episodes to come out. And they're not making the Life is Strange games anymore anyway. They made 1 and 2, but they didn't do True Colors, and they're not doing the 4th one either.
Oh, they're not making those ones?
No,
Who made
Square.
those?
Who made True Colors? I know it wasn't them. Square went with a different studio that round.
Oh.
And I don't necessarily know, but these 2 new games by Don't Nod are a departure from their typical game, right? Because they're a story rich narrative or choose your own adventure type, game where choices matter game. And both Banishers and Jasant, they're like an action RPG. They're not, from what I understand, Banishers has an amazing story to it, but I haven't played it. It's on my list, but like I said, they're sale games for me because they're not my primary. They're not boring games, but you have to be in the mood for a story game. You have to want to be enveloped into something, because sometimes story games, if I'm just like in a mood to like play something and that's a little action based, these games can kind of come off as boring and give me a I'll have a preconceived notion about the game because I'm not in the mood for that kind of game. I'm like, oh, this game sucks. But in reality, the game doesn't suck. It's a good game. I'm just not in the mood for a story driven or choose your own adventure type games, which is what these are, a lot of times. So, like I said, these 2 are a new departure and they are on my list, but they're just not something that I'm going to play until, like I said, they go on sale. When they go on sale, I'm going to buy them, put them on my back catalog. But that's really bad for a developer, right? For people like me on this type of game, because I'm like, I can wait to play their games. There are games out there that I can't wait to play, and there are games that I want to play but can wait. And these are in that genre, especially because, like I said, Life is Strange and all that stuff is episodic, and I just wait for all the episodes and then buy them all in a bundle because I can get them cheaper in a bundle and get them on sale, but that's just me. And so it hurts a developer like these guys, which is unfortunate, that I am part of the problem for these guys, is that I'm buying their games when they're on sale, and usually months, if not a year plus later, when I buy their game, when I'm like, oh yeah, because I'll forget about some of their games. Like I forgot about Jasant and Banishers, and I will forget until the sale comes up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to get that, and now it's on sale, so I'm gonna buy it. But then the developer didn't get the, how much they would have got if I'd have bought it brand new from them. But yeah, so, and like I said, from my understanding, they were out of straight Life is Strange 3 and 4 because they didn't want to be pigeonholed into like a genre, and Banishers and Jasant is exactly that. And so maybe the people who normally buy their games saw that as like, it's not for me, but Banisher's story is supposedly phenomenal from what I understand. And got, like Nick said, 70 in the 7s and 8s out of 10 score, or 70s and 80s if you're on to 100 score. And both of them are rated as mostly positive or higher on Steam. So I mean, it sucks, but I think they've just grown a little too large for their genre, right? I mean, there's a set number of people who play these kind of games, and you reach that limit, and if you outgrow that audience, then you're going to hurt yourself. And it's just unfortunate. I mean, I'll use Telltale Games, a perfect example. They have a genre of people who like their game, a group of people who like that genre of game, and then they just outgrew that. They outpaced it, right? Their studio got too big, and they couldn't maintain that studio because their games did not sell enough to support a studio of that size, or a studio that had that much overhead. And that's what happens with games like this. They're a niche game and a niche market. And I do believe that Don't Nod's games are a niche market. They are, how do I put this without sounding too bad? They are, if BioWare was out today, they are half of what BioWare was in its heyday, right? Because BioWare had amazing story, gameplay, and choices matter games, but it was like the trifecta. It's an action adventure game with an amazing story and all this stuff back in the day. And these guys are just it kind of a walking simulator almost with an amazing story with some interactions, um, they're not action adventure, but Banishers and Jasant is supposed to be action adventure, so it's a departure. But people already have them pigeonholed into this. These are the storytellers, and I like their games. That's all I can say. Is I was so highly surprised at Tell Me Why, because I went into that game thinking this is not for me, and then we played it for a review, and lo and behold, it was an awesome game, and all of us ended up liking it. I didn't think Shane would like it, and he ended up liking it, and so I figured Nick would like it. I'm like, this is just a different story than Life is Strange, right? It's the same kind of gameplay and feel and all that, but and that was one of the good things about when, reviewing games is that you'll often play stuff that you're like, I don't know about this, but you're pleasantly surprised. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you're just like, this game, meh. This game's okay. This game sucks. This game is just a little bit good. And then you're like, oh, this is an amazing game. It's a really good game, really good story. But yeah, I played Life is Strange because Nick recommended it. But by the time he had already recommended it to me, all of the episodes were out. So I just bought them, and so then I usually buy their catalog items at that, when they go on sale, which that hurts the studio. And I'm part of that problem. But they're just not, my primary money goes towards something that I either just have to play or I really want to play like right now. And that's not their games because I have to be in a mood. And their games, like I said, because they're episodic to some extent, some of their titles are, you have to have a lot of time to devote and want to be to be enthralled in a story, So I don't know, man. It sucks, but it sounds like they just, in my opinion, outgrew their audience and they need to shrink back down to get back into their core audience group and try not to outgrow that group of people who enjoy their games so they don't go away or get bought up by some other studio that decides to change their direction.
Yeah, so they don't go the like you said, the route of Telltale, right? Yeah, I agree, and I'm the same way as you. I don't buy their games when they first come out either, right? They are on my list of things I want to play. It's just I get them way later on, but then I play them and I'm like, oh, this is great. But it's probably like several year, like a year or several months later before that actually happens. So I'm part of the problem too. I think they're a great studio, and I do think they do a great job. But yeah, it is. I'm in the same boat as you. They're not a must play today type of studio, and I have some studios that are like that. There's some studios that I enjoy their games, but I don't buy them day one. I'll buy them later on, even though I really enjoy their stuff. And Don't Nod's definitely one of those as well. But yeah, you're right. True Colors and the new one is Deck Nine. Deck Nine's doing those, or Deck Nine did Life or True Colors, and they're doing the new Life is Strange. So, but yeah, it looks like Don't Nod has that Lost Records game coming out next year. I don't know if that's part of this because they have a February and March, so it looks like it's going to be a two-parter or two pieces. It's a narrative one. We've seen this one before. This is the one where it's like a 90s girl rock band that like put themselves together, and so that might be good. Again, it's going to be probably one of those ones that I'll play eventually, because it'll probably end up being pretty good. But just like Banishers, like and just saw, I forgot about that one, but that sounds interesting. I want to play that. And Banishers, I really wanted to play, but I just never got around to it. And still, again, like you, it's on my wish list of things to buy, but just never got around to it. And you're exactly right. I think their games are great, but it's one of those things where you have to be in the mood to play them, right? And you're not always in the mood to play one of those. But when you are and you play them, they're great, right? And you're like, oh, this is cool. It's just one of those, and there's a lot of games. There's some games that are like that, not just Don't Nod game, but there's some games that I even have that I have to be in the mood to play. Even some big RPGs, like I love RPGs, but if I know an RPG is like 60 to 80 hours long, I really got to be in the mood to play that RPG because I am going to dedicate that time to it. But I'm like, do I want to dedicate 60 to 80 hours to this RPG? Do I have the time right now? Is there nothing else that I want to play? Is there a lull in games where I'm like, I don't really have anything else? Let's go for it, right? Sometimes I have that, and when I do, I'll fit those big titles in. But There's a lot of RPGs I've bought that I have sitting on the store shelf or I put on my wish list that I really want to play. I just never got around to because I just don't have the time. And unfortunately, Don't Nod's the same way with a lot of their games. I just don't have the time. Um, so it's unfortunate, but hopefully they can, because I don't want them to go away because I think they're a really good developer. I don't want them to get bought out by some big company and have them, spit out the same game every time. So I want them to continue to do what they do. I just hope they can refocus and find a way to do that. So, anything else you want to add?
Nope. I build my Steam library for retirement. I'll have plenty of games to play at my retirement age, is what I hope. And I'll have all these games in my back catalog,
Right. Exactly. I got a ton of games on my wish list, and it grows even higher and higher. There's so many games I want to play and check out. And like I said, a lot of their games, and they're not the only developer that I enjoy, but they're not day one games for me, right? They're more of a niche developer. So their games get played when I get around to them, but they're usually really great games. So anyway, let us know down in your comments and down in the comments below. Have you played a Don't Nod game? Did you try out Banishers? Have you tried Jasant? Let us know how those are, because I think we're both interested in those particular games. And we've played a lot of their older ones too. So let me know what you think of the games that they create, and in those games in particular, are you looking forward to Lost Records, which comes out next year, which is a more narrative game, something that are kind of we're used to more seeing from them than their action games, because Banishers is more of an action storytelling game, and Jasant's more of an action storytelling rock climbing type of game. So they also have another one called Korra, which I don't know, is a weird looking game. It almost looks like I'm not sure what it is. It's like a top down looking, looks cute, but it's not. I don't know if they're developing it or if they're just maybe publishing it, because it says the game is developed by Studio Tolma. So I don't know if they if that's a part of them. It's like like
they publish a lot of stuff, like a few different things. I think they published a game called Gerda that wasn't theirs, so they do publish quite a bit.
Publish some from time to time.
Yeah,
this one is Studio Talma for this one. So this might be just a game that they're publishing. Yeah, from Steam store page, it looks like they're just publishing this one. So anyway, there's a demo out for that one. So if you want to check that one out, you can. But let us know down in the comments below what you all think. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to hit the bell notification to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. Hit that subscribe button. Help us out. Do us a favor. Hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.